Imagine squeezing a lemon over a piece of fish and watching it cook without heat, or tasting how a pickle becomes tangy and preserved for months simply by soaking in vinegar. What do these culinary transformations have in common? The answer lies in acidity, more specifically, pH, a fundamental chemical property that influences not just flavor, but texture, safety, and shelf life of food. At first glance, pH might seem like a dry scientific concept confined to chemistry labs, but in the kitchen it plays a central role in shaping the sensory and structural qualities of everything we eat. The pH scale measures how acidic or basic a substance is, from 0, highly acidic, to 14 being neutral. Foods like lemon juice and vinegar have low pH values, acidic, while baking soda and egg whites are more basic. Understanding how acidity works allows chefs, home cooks, and food scientists to control color, consistency, and microbial stability with surprising precision. So how does pH influence cooking? The answer lies in how proteins, carbohydrates, and other molecules react under different pH conditions. Take meat, for example. Marinating it in acidic ingredients like citrus juice, yogurt, or wine helps denature proteins, breaking down their structure and making the meat more tender. In seafood dishes like ceviche, acid alone cooks fish by altering the protein structure, turning it opaque and firm without any heat. Baking is another area where pH plays a starring role. The delicate chemistry between acidic and basic ingredients determines rise, crumb texture, and browning. In a classic baking soda and buttermilk reaction, the acid, lactic acid from buttermilk, reacts with the base, sodium bicarbonate, to produce carbon dioxide bubbles, which cause the dough or batter to rise. Getting the balance wrong can lead to flat cakes or off flavors. Even the deep brown color and rich aroma of a perfectly baked loaf are partly due to the Maillard reaction, which is pH insensitive, working best at slightly alkaline conditions. But acidity is not just a flavor enhancer or texture modifier, it is also one of the oldest and most effective tools in food preservation. In fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, or yogurt, beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus consume sugars and produce lactic acid, which lowers the pH. This acidic environment inhibits the growth of harmful microbes, extending shelf life naturally. Similarly, pickling involves immersing food in vinegar or allowing it to ferment, creating a low pH condition that keeps spoilage organisms at bay. Which microbes are affected? Most pathogenic bacteria, including E. coli, Salmonella, and Listeria, cannot thrive in environments with pH below ~4.5. This threshold is why acidified foods are considered microbiologically stable without refrigeration. For home canning, maintaining the correct acidity is essential not just for taste, but for safety, particularly in preventing botulism, a deadly toxin that can form in low-acid anaerobic conditions. Even color is influenced by pH. The vibrant red of beets, the green of chlorophyll in vegetables, or the purple hues of red cabbage shift dramatically depending on acidity. Red cabbage, for instance, acts as a natural pH indicator, turning pink in acid, blue in neutral, and greenish-yellow in base. This is why adding a splash of lemon juice can restore the bright green of overcooked broccoli, or keep red fruits vivid in jams and jellies. Looking ahead, modern gastronomy is exploring pH not just for preservation and flavor, but as a form of artistic expression. Molecular chefs use pH to create spherification, reverse gelation, or even edible films that change color or texture in response to acidic ingredients. pH meters and titration kits are now common tools in high-end kitchens, bringing scientific precision to what was once culinary intuition. Ultimately, acidity and pH are not just background chemical facts, they are the invisible architects of taste, texture, color, and safety in our food. Mastering them means gaining control over the transformation of raw ingredients into meals that delight the senses and nourish the body. Could understanding pH be the secret ingredient in perfect cooking and long-lasting preservation? Increasingly, chefs and scientists agree, yes, it is. pH is a logarithmic scale used to measure the concentration of hydrogen ions, H+, in a solution, which determines its acidity or alkalinity and profoundly affects flavor, texture, microbial activity, and chemical reactions in food. Acidic foods, pH less than 7, tend to taste sour and resist spoilage, while basic or neutral foods are more prone to microbial growth, making pH control essential for cooking and preserving quality and safety. For example, lemon juice is frequently added to dishes not only for tartness, but also to prevent oxidation and bacterial growth. And it's like adjusting the thermostat of a house. pH sets the environment that determines how everything inside behaves. Acids interactions influence food texture, color, and aroma by altering protein structures and molecular stability. Acids denature proteins, causing them to unfold and aggregate, changing texture from soft to firm or coagulated, while basic environments break down complex molecules, leading to tenderization or color shifts, underpinning processes like marinating, baking, and emulsifying. For example, adding vinegar, acid, to milk curdles it to form paneer, and it's like loosening or tightening a rope. Acids unravel the knots in proteins, while bases may fray them completely. Acidic ingredients brighten flavor by stimulating salivation and balancing sweetness, bitterness, and umami, enhancing perceived freshness or complexity in dishes and reducing the perception of heaviness or dullness. For example, a splash of lime on grilled meat or guacamole sharpens the taste and adds brightness to fatty or rich foods. And it's like contrast in a focus and brings other elements into clearer view. Many fruit and vegetable pigments are pH unsensitive, changing color depending on acidity. Anthocyanins in red cabbage, blueberries appear red in acidic conditions and turn blue or green in alkaline settings. So cooking methods that alter pH can dramatically shift visual appeal and chemical integrity. For example, boiling red cabbage in vinegar keeps it bright purple, whereas adding baking soda turns it blue-green, and it's like mood lighting for food. Switch the pH, and the color tone transforms the entire atmosphere. Acidic environments inhibit spoilage and pathogenic microorganisms by denaturing proteins and disrupting cell membranes, forming the basis of preservation methods like pickling, fermentation, and acidification that extend shelf life by maintaining foods below pH 4.6, the threshold preventing Clostridium botulinum growth. For example, cucumbers preserved in vinegar brine remain safe and shelf-stable for months due to low pH and salt content, and it's like a fortress moat, shallow enough for flavor to swim through but too deep for invaders to cross. Fermentation by lactic acid bacteria naturally lowers food pH by converting sugars into organic acids, e.g., lactic or acetic acid, producing complex flavors and antimicrobial effects that preserve foods. For example, lactobacillus species ferment cabbage sugars into lactic acid in sauerkraut, preserving the vegetable and adding sour flavor, and it's like training wild animals to become guardians. Microbes that could spoil food instead become protectors through acid production. Baking relies on acid-based chemistry for leavening. Baking soda base requires an acid, e.g., lemon juice, buttermilk, cream of tartar, to produce carbon dioxide gas that lifts dough and creates a fluffy texture, with insufficient acid leading to flat, soapy, or discolored baked goods. For example, vinegar and buttermilk in red velvet cake react with baking soda to create rise and enhance its signature hue, and it's like a chemical handshake. The acid wakes up the soda, and together they lift the dough skyward. F influences how proteins in meat and eggs unfold, bind water, and coagulate during cooking. Acidic marinades tenderize meat by partially breaking down connective tissue, while acid in poaching water speeds egg coagulation and prevents feathering. But excessive acidity can overnature proteins, causing toughness. For example, adding vinegar to poaching water tightens albumin proteins for compact, visually pleasing poached eggs. And it's like adjusting a musical instrument's strings. Tuned correctly, the result is harmony. Over-tighten, and the string snaps. Modern molecular gastronomy employs precise pH control and acidity manipulation to engineer novel textures, flavors, and presentations using acid gels, pH-sensitive foams, or spherification to create transformative food experiences. While advances in food sensors and smart kitchen tools enable real-time acidity monitoring for consistency and innovation. For example, citric acid triggers spherification of fruit juices into gel-like pearls in avant-garde desserts. And it's like conducting a symphony where each note of acidity modulates not only the sound but the structure of the instrument itself.